We continue the Chris Simms Top 40 Quarterback Countdown. Actually, it's a build-up. We're building up the pyramid, and now we're adding a block that includes Dak Prescott, Trevor Lawrence, and Tua. It is this it?
Yeah.
So these are all guys who we thought
were
ascending stars in the game at one point or another. Now, you've never been high on Tua, obviously. You can go back and listen to some previous podcasts if you want more on that. Dak Prescott, though, you have been. Trevor Lawrence, you were maybe not as high as everyone else, but superstar has been put on these guys by various people at certain points in their career.
Right.
And now we're sitting here questioning whether we have seen the best.
Yeah, that's it. That's the bottom line there. Is this it? Is there anything more they can give us? Right? What I've seen from these guys right here a little bit is just the last 2 years. I've gone, oh, this is the same guy. I don't know. Is there more? Is there more in the tank? Is there something they can improve on? I question it. Now, we'll get into each guy specifically. Trevor Lawrence is probably the most interesting one, and I'll get to that in a minute. But, yeah, I question, have we maxed out? As we hit the ceiling, and that's all we are. And we'll start with Dak Prescott as I drool on myself as I say that one there. Right on my right hand I drooled. But like, with Dak Prescott and what we see, I don't know if there's anybody that I soured on more on my list over the last few years or just last year to this year than Dak Prescott.
Well, he was 8 last year in your countdown. He's been between 8 and 13 each of the previous 6 years. I think you have often been higher on him because people obviously see the last thing about Dak and it's a playoff defeat or not making the playoffs. And so I think you have tried to pump the brakes on the hate on Dak Prescott and saying, like, he doesn't have necessarily a ton around him and he's been pretty good and not many quarterbacks would be better in that system. But it changed this past year, you think?
It did change. It did. And you know, injuries, of course, are a part of that issue as well. And to the point, and like we just discussed this a few minutes ago, when I watched this like a month ago, I put him right here in this range, but I had a bunch of question marks and stars on a few of my rough drafts, and I was like, am I right about that? And I told you before the show, that was one of the ones yesterday I sat down and I was like, I got to go watch back Dak and Tua just to make sure my mind is where I think it is on that. Was I having a bad day? Was I a little down on him? And I can just tell you, when I turned it on yesterday, within 10 minutes, I was like, no, this is why I put him here in this range. I am underwhelmed. I'm underwhelmed. The dynamic aspect of him, gone, not there, whatever, it's just not good enough anymore this day and age in the NFL. It's not. He doesn't move all that well in the pocket. He doesn't move all that well outside of the pocket. His release is slow, okay? His anticipation is not great. And I do believe his arm is actually taking a step back in some ways. So I think between all of that, that's what I look at, and I just go, man, I don't love it. The decision-making is not as quick as you would like either. There's a reason there's red zone issues all the time with Dak Prescott and all of that. Yeah, one is because he doesn't feel or see things coming maybe as quickly as you'd like for guys that have played as much as he had down in that area. 2, his arm is not super wow, right? It's just a good arm. So he can't fit it into some tight windows all the time. He doesn't have very many arm angles. And what you come away with more than anything after watching all these guys and watching him all in that same kind of realm and all that, I just go, man, it's one of the slower releases in all of football too. It's a slow release. Right? So that's where I get down on Dak Prescott a little bit. And again, we're talking about some guys and some other people that we've talked about and that we're going to talk about here in a few minutes that, yeah, I just feel like are at a better spot in their career. They're more talented and they're on the up and up. And I don't know about Dak Prescott. But yes, the injury part bothers me. Some of the mechanics bother me. We've talked about this before. I mean, he's one of the only guys I know that really, when he steps at a target and throws a football, his left leg goes towards that target, but as he's throwing, it actually slides backwards. And you want to know why he pulled his hamstring? That's why. He's basically doing a hamstring curl every time he throws the football, which makes no sense, right? And that leads to the inaccuracies at time. It leads to the ball hanging in the air. I mean, again, I almost want to stand up and just show it, but I won't. But his front foot, if you watch him on film, he will step, okay, and that foot will, as he throws, slide backwards at times. And it puts tremendous stress on his hamstring. So it doesn't lead itself to great accuracy, great ability to get the ball out of his hands quickly. And I think that's what bothered me more than anything about Dak Prescott and watching him back after this past year.
Yeah, that was week 9 against the Falcons. The hamstring actually partially detached from the bone. That's
crazy.
Why it's so significant surgery after that. And so, and you taught me this, and I was talking to you about this before the podcast about injuries and injury prone. Sometimes that's overrated because it's just bad luck or whatever. But you can't argue the fact that the injuries do pile up, and the less athletic that you get, the less likely you are to avoid these injuries in the future, because you're just like a less athletic person is going to get injured more often.
We've seen, I feel like, his athleticism drop off every year.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say, I know he can still run for a first down every time and do that, but his ability to run and do that is much less now than it was 3-4 years ago, and it continues to go that way. Yeah, the more you're beat up, the less likely you are to do that type of stuff. But yes, again, too, with a guy for the amount of money he's making and doing what he's doing, they're not getting their money's worth out of this one. They're not. And I like Dak Prescott. I love the way he handles himself. He handles criticism, as good as anybody in football. So he's perfect that way. He's a leader. I get that too. He's a leader in a lot of ways. He's everything you want your organization to embody and stand for. I get that. But at the same time, he's the highest paid player at his position in a very big position. And yet, whether you go to 2 years ago or last year, you go through games and you just go, he doesn't make enough of a difference or as a big time, get on my shoulders here, I got you guys in this moment for what he's being paid either. And I don't think that's influencing my brain. I'm trying to just stay on what I'm seeing on the football field, but that is part of the broader conversation when you talk about Dak Prescott.
So there are multiple ways to score points in the NFL. You can have an elite quarterback that carries the offense, and you can also build up the team around him. They've tried to do that now, right? You got George Pickens there to go along with CeeDee Lamb. You got Javonte Williams, drafted Jaden Blue. They got Miles Sanders over there at running backs and trying to beef up that part.
Yeah.
So despite the fact that you think Dak Prescott, we may have seen the best from him already.
Right.
Can the Cowboys offense be as good or better with what they've added around him?
I think they can be as good or better. Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if they're not better. I think their O-line's better, and then the George Pickens addition is huge. And I think the thing off of that I like at least a little bit here, and this is one of the positives about Dak, is I've always said this, Dak's ability to hang in the pocket and wait for big throws down the football field, that is one of my favorite things about him. He does have great feel in that way, right? Where I feel like some quarterbacks might be like, well, I took a big 5, I took the hitch step, and he's not quite where I want him to be yet, so I'm going to turn it down and go to the check down here, right? Dak's kind of like, he's played enough football where he drops back and goes, no, wait, I'm going to take an extra hip. This is a hitch. This is about to come open. Let me hang in there one more pat of the ball and throw it and make the big throw down the football field. So that's the aspects I love, right? But there's also an aspect of him at times too where within the normal meat and potatoes of the football game, I feel like he can be complacent or maybe not have the confidence in his arm like some of the other top quarterbacks to put the ball exactly where he wants to. He could be too quick. He got a little combination route to the right side, right? Somebody's running something deep, something's running short. To me, there's too many times where I go, he takes the short guy too much, right? Where I want to just go, come on, you played enough football. You know that guy's about to come open for a 20-yard gain. Why are we rushing to get the guy in the ball in the flat there for a 3-yard gain? What's that? And those are things I look at. And again, a play like that will be good on the grading sheets for most grading websites. But for my life, I'm going, wait, CeeDee Lamb going to be open for a 20-yard gain, throw the ball in the flat to Ferguson for a 4-yard gain. Yeah, okay, we got a completion, but we left the 20-yard gain plus who knows what he gets after the catch on the field. And that's a negative to me. And there's just a little too much of that in his game as well right now.
Cowboys are going to be a tough team because they've tried to revamp that defense a little bit.
Right.
Picks with Ezraku, who we like coming out of Boston College, Savone Ravel, a corner there, so you got a couple rookies. You still got Micah Parsons, but they got talent.
Their team could be a pain in the butt. I expect their team to be playoff-ish this year. And that can make me look stupid with the rankings. But I don't think it's going to be like, because, oh my gosh, Dak Prescott is lighting the league on fire. Watch out. Decision-making, quickness in which he plays, quickness in which he sees the defenses to make decision, urgency in the pocket to throw and get the ball out of his hands. It's all a little just slow with Dak Prescott. That's what I keep coming back to. I see plays and just go, hey, come on, move in the pocket. Let the ball go. He's open. And it's like we're still kind of moving around in the pocket, looking downfield, or we're in the process of throwing, and I'm like, wait, the quarterbacks I've just watched, they all got the ball out of their hand already. Like it's out. And they threw it sidearm and just flicked it and got it to the target. And those are things you don't see from Dak Prescott. He needs a little space as a thrower. He needs space. He's got an elongated motion. He can't, like I just said, flick it or just wrist it out there, that little T-Rex motion. There's not a lot of sidearm that way and all that. And those are the things that, bother me a little bit about his game.
You know who the guy that can do that well?
Yeah.
As I transition from one guy to the next?
Yeah, he can.
Tua Tagovailoa,
right.
So also in this tier for you. And so if you go back and you look at all the things that you have said about Tua all throughout the years, you've been lower on him than in the past. But then there are some people that if they go back and watch Football Night in America a couple of times last year, you were complimenting him as much as any quarterback out there in some of the things that he does and does very well in this Miami Dolphins offense, the point guard, the Magic Johnson, the distributor, boom, 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 boom.
No
Tua,
doubt.
When he is like that, no one better in that offense.
There's great value to all that you're talking about there. And, hey, watching him compared next to Dak Prescott, how quick he moves in the pocket and how quick he can get the ball out of the hands, I mean, he looks like he's in fast forward next to Dak Prescott. That's certainly advantage Tua. I mean, Tua's ability to be pinpoint in short areas, right? That is another advantage he would have over Dak Prescott. And I should have got to that. Dak Prescott, because of that elongated motion and all that too, is not as pinpoint with some of the short intermediate throws as you would like for somebody that's making $60 million a year, right? Tua, excuse me, on the other hand, is amazing in that area. He is. But there's also some crossover to what I just talked about with Dak Prescott that we're going to hit on with Tua as well. Okay. Now, I love Tua's quickness. I love his foot quickness and his ability to come off a play-action fake and get his body in the right position to throw a ball into a tight window and get it out really quick. I mean, all that's really good. His ability to process and see people come open in those short little areas, that's not always easy. We talk about that. It happens so quick, right? That takes a special guy to do that. I give him a lot of credit for that. But I go back to some of the things I've said in the past. Still, the big thing is when we get into late December and big game football or anything around that range, we go into those games questioning the highest paid guy on their football team, which is Tua. Is he going to be okay? And I still come back to that. And when I watch him and evaluate him yesterday, I like a lot. I do. Are there plays and throws left on the field and yards on the field every game? Yes, there are. There are throughout, whether it's missed throws, not being able to get to the target, or it's, oh, wait, we called the deep throw, and I have to throw it on time and rhythm, so I just have to put it out there. And it's like, no, he's double covered. But most quarterbacks have a chance to, let me wait for Tyreek Hill. I know he's going to open up and go by, but he doesn't have the arm to do that. So then he'll throw a ball up, and you'll be like, well, it's double coverage. And it's like, well, yeah, he had to throw it when Tyreek was at 20. He was at the 20, right? So he had to throw it then. He can't even see if he's going to be open all the way down the field. He kind of has to guesstimate, if that makes sense, right? You know what I'm saying there? Also, I think if you got into other negatives, would just be health, like you mentioned before. Do I think some of that affected his decision-making last year? 100% No doubt about it. A little bit like we talked about with Kirk Cousins. Hey, Tua was going to, if the play was take a quick 5, one hitch and throw the ball, he was going to do that no matter what. It was going to be like, I'm going to take a quick 5 and throw it. And again, I get to this, and this to me is big because the great quarterbacks in the sport do this right now. Where, okay, quick 5, okay, you could see he's about to come open. Okay, you took your hitch, but you still see he's coming open. Stay with him and throw it. There he is. Tyreek's open for 25. But instead the ball is already out because we listen to our feet and all that. And he's too good and too experienced for that. Mm-hmm. I don't like that. Some of his negative plays, interceptions, throws or all that are thrown just because it's like, wait, I was told to take a quick 5 and throw. And it's like, well, no, this is football. The sport's not perfect. Yeah. The guy that you threw to in practice all week where it was perfect because of how the scout team played it, no, there's actually a guy that's trying to stop it now today on Sunday, and he bumped that guy as he was running the route. But you see the window, don't just throw it just because it's like, hey, it was time to throw and there's the window and I'm going to throw it. He's not there yet. But we just throw it and let it go. And I think some of that is maybe because he's protecting himself.
Yeah.
And some of that is like lack of aggressive decision making, right? Or just hang in the pocket to make that aggressive play. And those are some of the negatives I come back with Tua. It's tough here. It is tough. In my heart of hearts, I want to say Drake May and Michael Penix are going to pass these guys up this year. I really do. But I just don't have enough quite comfort and evidence from those two to say that quite yet. And I don't want to be disrespectful to two guys who have played for a long time. Right. I get that. But I think these questions are very legitimate. I really do. And not only between that, you know, he's great at sidearm and off platform. I love all that stuff too, but he's not going to run a whole lot. And he doesn't scramble outside the pocket and make any plays outside the pocket that way to make a big throws either. He's slick moving in the pocket, and let me shovel past a guy here, or I'm moving in the pocket and I see somebody open over the middle, and boom, I get it out. He's really slick that way. But I'd be lying to you if I don't sit here and grade a little bit on off-schedule plays. You have to. It's 2025 in the NFL. The best quarterbacks in football are making off-schedule plays all the time. So that's part of the sport right now. The defenses are too good. It's not going to be perfect. But, yeah, this is where we get back to, is this it? Or do we have something else we can go to another level here where you can shut somebody like me up?
Led the NFL with a 73% completion percentage last year, but a lot of those quick, you know, the difficulty of those throws are not necessarily at the highest level. And this is tough for you because, right, you look at the Drake Mays and the Michael Penixes, the ceilings are higher, but the floors are lower.
Right.
But it's not like the floors are not low with Tua and Dak either, with the injury concerns that both of them have and the concussions with Tua and the hip at the end of the year.
Exactly right.
And I think that's part of it for Tua. You say you don't want to be a robot out there, but I'm sure that Mike McDaniel has told him, you got to protect yourself more so than other quarterbacks out there. All quarterbacks want to protect themselves, self-preservation, but for him with the concussion history, it's just like it is a must, and it's hard to. I don't know. It's just like he has to protect himself.
I know it's a hard thing to tell a human not to do that. Right? That's where they're in a tough predicament. That's where I got back to the contract stuff and going like, wait, nobody's going to be bidding to pay Tua with the things you're talking about, let alone the play on the field. Why are we just outbidding ourselves? I don't get that, right? So that's the things I question there. You know, a little bit like I talked about with Dak Prescott too. There's a few too many plays where I want to go, wait, the slot guy's got an out route. Tyreek Hill's got a 20-yard out route too on top of that. Like, he's about to come open. Like, just wait, throw it. Just a 30-yard gain. Boom. But no, the ball's out of the hands too quick. Again, it's not a bad play, but I'm just going, Josh Allen or Joe Burrow or Matt Stafford or whatever are hitting that all day long to Tyreek Hill. And then who knows what happens after they hit that, because go 3 rockets up his ass might turn up the sidelines and go for a touchdown, right? So that's what you miss there. There's a lot of good there, but I not only with that, and he's almost the opposite of like Dak Prescott, because Dak would be like a little bit of the, wait, I'm big, I'm going to hang in the pocket, and it's like, no, get off of him. CeeDee Lamb's not going to come open. Go somewhere else. Don't just try to throw it to CeeDee and like, I'm going to put it in a good spot with 3 people around him and hopefully he'll catch it, right? Like, don't do that. Move on to the next guy. You know, it's the opposite of that with Tua, where it's like hit the back foot and it's coming out no matter what. And there's a little bit of me that's just like, hey, you played enough. You know this guy going down the middle against cover 2 is about to be open. Give it a split second more, and you're going to have a big play here. And there's some of that misses, let alone some of the other stuff we're talking about too.
Yeah, those are 2 interesting quarterbacks to talk about because, it's like Dak has been in the superstar realm, top 10 for you before, and Tua for a lot of people has been, leading the NFL in yards or completion percentage. You'd be like, he is in the upper echelon, but with the injuries, you're like, man, this might be it for him. This other guy in this tier, though, the fact that you included Trevor Lawrence in this tier of, is this it? I think that would be a shock to a lot of people. It's still 25 years old, former number 1 pick. Obviously also was injured last year, played, what did he play, 10 games? When it was all said and done, only won 2 of those. So it was a really disastrous year for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But you at this point, at 25 years old, former number 1 pick, you're already questioning whether this is it for Trevor Lawrence.
I a little bit. I am. There's no doubt. He's one of the tougher guys to do here because there's still unbelievable talent. And you just still look at it and go, wait, can they tap into this? Or like what we've seen in a little bit of a regression the last 2 years is this is who he is, right? The first year of Doug Peterson, you just go, oh, wow, they're going to the playoffs. This is great. They had the Kansas City Chiefs on the ropes. The next year, there were some moments, but it wasn't nearly as good. And, of course, they don't make the playoffs and don't have a great record or do anything that way. And I know he was a little banged up, okay? But then we get into this year, and it really got worse. And you look at the start of the year early on in the season, yeah, a lot of it is Trevor Lawrence. There's no doubt. We talked about Trevor Lawrence coming out in the draft, and I talked about some mechanical issues throwing the football. There's still mechanical issues throwing the football. So that's why he's a little bit in this group here. His ceiling is higher than Dak Prescott and Tua, okay? It is. But also his surgicality and ability to make consistent quarterback plays is less than theirs in a lot of ways. So that's where he's the tough one. And I expect Liam Cohen to fix him, but I've also seen 2 coaches with him so far that had not fixed him. So I'm a little bit like, I don't know. It's going to be on him.
Good coaches, too.
Right. What's that?
He's been around some good coaches,
He's had some, right. You know, the Urban Meyer experiment was always tough to start your career that way. But the way they started the year last year, you know, before he was hurt and all of that, there's too many bad decisions. There's way too many missed throws. Way too many. For as a guy that's as talented as he is, the ball is all over the place. And I think that's what's concerning about Trevor Lawrence, let alone I think there's not enough variety in his throwing. We've talked about this a little bit in the past. He's got all the clubs in the bag, but it feels like he uses the driver or the 3-wood all the time, okay? Touch, anticipation, flick the ball out there and just drop it in the bucket and let the guy run underneath it. He's not great at that stuff right there, right? He can go through games, and I've said this in the past too, or you can go through different games and go, wait, this game he's throwing it like this. This game he's throwing it like that. Like there's little nuances in my quarterback eye to go, he's kind of throwing the ball different than the week I just saw last week. He's like come up with a different way to kind of figure it out that day. That tells me there's mechanical issues. That tells me he's going into pregame warm-ups and like, oh, I don't quite have the feel today. Let me invent a new feel and see if I can carry that over to the football field. But you look at Buffalo early in the year, you look at the Houston Texans early in the year, and it's, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, one after another. And that's what's disappointing. And, of course, that carried on until he got injured, really. And, yeah, I'm not sure. Big, great athlete, rocket arm, quick release. Those things right there, if I just said that, you'd go, oh, this must be one of the better quarterbacks in football, right? But inconsistent decision maker, balls all over the place, doesn't make a ton happen off schedule, right? Needs to learn a little bit more backyard football, right? He's a little too much like, I'm in the pocket, I'm big, and I'm going to throw my laser somewhere. And sometimes it's like, no, one's not open, two's not open. Hey, you're big, you're run, get out, make a play, do something. Scramble a little bit. Be Mahomes. Be Josh Allen. Be Burrow, right? Do that. Get out. Do something. And those are the things you're not seeing from Trevor Lawrence right now. I'm hoping Liam Cohen can get him back on track. That's why he was hired. He's hired there to save Trevor Lawrence and make that offense fun and explosive.
What have you heard about Trevor Lawrence, too? Because when he was coming out and the #1 pick and all that, remember those reports that I was like, how much does he love football? You know, he likes a lot of other things. Is he really invested?
There's still those thoughts out there, Ahmed. Yeah, there is. It's a good question by you.
This is the time when it's like when things are going bad is when you really need that love for football, or else you're just like, screw this.
Definitely. This was, there was talk last year that Mac Jones and Trevor Lawrence, and Mac Jones was like, wait, I'm crazy psycho New England worker. Where's this guy? Right? I heard things like that coming on from down there a little bit, like Mac Jones is a little bit like, wait, I'm the gym rat. He's the one making $55 million. It should be the other way around, right? There's a little of that. And, yes, I think I told you when he signed his last contract that was definitely some thoughts down there. It was just, hey, we know he likes football a lot. Does he love it, right? Does he love it? The great ones are obsessed with it. They're obsessed. It's every day, all day. It's all you think about. And I think there's a thought down there that maybe he's not invested to that extent.
Yeah.
Maybe Liam Cohen can bring that out of him, right? I think there's people that think like, oh, well, it's just been so easy for him his whole life, right? He was the man coming out of high school. He was the man right away in college. He was the man pretty early on in his NFL career. Does he just think it's all going to come that way? And this is this first real what do you want to say, trial and tribulations of like football life here, where he's got serious doubters and he's got to figure some things out with his play.
Yeah, Pete has put it in here. He goes, this was shortly after he was drafted. He told Sports Illustrated, "It's not like I need this for my life to be okay." He admitted that he doesn't have this huge chip on my shoulder that everyone's out to get me, and I'm trying to prove everyone wrong. And there are some people that say, what is that, man? I mean, like, come on. You're just trying to, like, oh, this guy loves – I need to know this guy loves football. But when I took a job over at MLB Network, it was John Entz who hired me over there as an executive, has been all around now. He asked me, he's like, do you love baseball? And he goes, not that you can't work here and not love baseball. He's like, but come August and September, when you've been grinding every day, he's like, if you don't love it, you're gonna hate your life. It's like we'll hire you if you don't love it, but if you don't love it, you might be miserable here.
Yes, more times than not, the quarterback's got to be that guy.
Yeah,
it's like I'm not that guy. I wanted to be that guy. I'm still devastated my career didn't work out that way, right? I could have told you when I was 16, no, everything's not going to be okay if I don't get to the NFL. I'm going to be life disappointed and probably have to deal with some depression, right? Like, my answer would not have been that. I don't think, like, Troy Aikman's or Peyton Manning's answer would have been like that coming out either, right? So that's where there's that thought. And the fact that that came out of his mouth at that time, and look at that, I think that's why that thought was there. I think people were onto that a little bit. So we'll see where it goes. But like I said, the potential's there, the talent's there, right? It's decision-making, it's variety in throws, it's touch on the football, it's consistency in throwing the football. That's what's a little scary about Trevor Lawrence.
And the talent around him is there. Brian Thomas is the guy that you liked a lot last year and showed why you liked him last year. I mean, you like De'Ami Brown, too, coming out. And he's going to be playing for him now. And then you got Travis Hunter, of course, who has maybe the best ball skills out of a receiver we have seen in a long time.
Definitely. I mean, going to catch the screen game and let this roll a little bit. Because, like, I mean, first off, look, when you watch him throw the football, you could see, like, right there, you say perfect spiral with Michael Penix. These balls are spinning and moving. So can Liam Cohn get him right and make him more of a machine throwing the football and then get his confidence back, too? Because what you see with a lot of guys in this group, in this area of what we're talking about, is because we're in an area where it's a lot of strugglesville for a lot of these quarterback. At times, it's like, hey, when you struggle and you're not doing as well and all that, it affects your decisions and things like that too. And Trevor Lawrence was all over the place with decisions, throws, and everything last year.
All right, interesting group.
Yo, homies, what's up? Thanks for watching Chris Simms Unbuttoned. And just because the weather's warm doesn't mean football ain't still on our brains right here.
We are still working, so smash that subscribe button. We got all the training camp news, preseason news, everything up until kickoff night.
Thanks for watching. And again, remember to hit that subscribe button. Peace out, homies.